Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to host this webinar tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about building independence, fostering your child's daily living skills for a confident tomorrow. So again, just to reiterate, everyone is on mute. So if you do have a question, please go ahead. It says unmute yourself, but it should just say type in the chat in the Q&A, and I will get to that during the webinar or after for sure. Definitely want this to be interactive, so please feel free to ask questions. So just a little tidbit about Bierman. Bierman provides a play-based one-on-one learning environment where all of our kiddos build foundational skills like communication and self-advocacy. We recognize that every child's path is unique, and at Bierman, we focus on the measurable progress tailored to each individual kiddo, and that's done with our one-on-one approach. So Bierman's fun and engaging approach blurs the lines between learning and play. And this fosters confident and motivated learners. We also extend this support to families as well. So this is done through parent training, collaboration, and that is really the heart of our care model. Just kind of touching on a few of Bierman's pillars. So really, these are our top main reasons and our pillars here at Bierman. So letting kids be kids. We accept that every kiddo for who they are, and that is a unique person. We foster learning through play. So we erase the line between learning and play to keep children engaged and motivated. Remembering that empowerment is key. So we use everyday activities to teach children foundational skills, and this is done through self-advocacy and communication. Engagement with families, believing in the importance of building connections and working towards those shared goals. And then last but not least, commitment to progress. We're dedicated to each kiddo's everyday and long-term progress here at Bierman. So for today, our agenda, we're going to go through and do an overview of daily living skills. We're also going to touch on understanding why promoting independence in these daily living skills is so important for our kiddos' lives. We'll also explore how to develop essential daily living skills at home, how to build that independence at home, and then discuss practical and evidence-based strategies and interventions to support your kiddos' independence at home too. So to get us kicked off, we're going to talk about what are daily living skills. So these are essential abilities that our kiddos need to perform and manage everyday tasks and personal needs. So these can be anything from personal hygiene skills to dressing skills. They can be mealtime skills like using utensils, and then household tasks and chores, even safety skills and social skills as well. So getting us started here. So the importance of daily living skills. Really a lot of reasons why importance of daily living skills kind of we're going to talk about today. But top three are promoting independence. So teaching our kids daily living skills really helps them to manage basic needs on their own, and in turn, it really reduces reliance on assistance from others. It also enhances their quality of life. So teaching our kids daily living skills boosts their self-esteem, their well-being and happiness. And this is all through self-care and responsibility. And then this last one is social impact. So when we teach our kids independence and daily living skills, it really encourages the relationship building and just a more active community involvement, which in turn leads to a positive and improved social impact. So let's go ahead and dive a little deeper into how we promote independence for our kiddos. So we're going to review various daily living skill routines and then how to promote and teach independence for each one. So getting us started off with personal hygiene skills. So personal hygiene skills, starting off with bathing. So again, the importance of building independence within bathing is maintaining overall body cleanliness, promoting good self-care habits as well. And then for grooming, so grooming can entail anything from hair brushing, haircuts, anything like that. And again, this importance really is is about enhancing self-confidence, which contributes to positive self-image, supports social acceptance as well. The next one, toileting. So there's a lot of important skills and everything that goes into toileting and why it's so important to build independence with toileting for our kiddos. But really, it builds dignity and autonomy. Again, it prevents accidents, supports full participation in school and community settings as well. Next is hand washing. And this is really crucial for promoting health, especially in group settings, again, like school. The next one we'll touch on is teeth brushing, and this encourages good oral hygiene, contributes to overall health as well. And then the last one is nail care. So again, importance here is in preventing infections, injuries, buildup of dirt, and encourages good grooming habits as well. So diving deeper here, so we're going to kind of touch on each one of these personal hygiene skills and then how we can promote independence for each one. So for bathing, we can use a visual schedule with specific steps. So again, steps 1 through, it could be 1 through 10, depending on your bathing schedule. But practicing with dolls or visuals first is a great way to promote that as well. You can use a scent-free soap for kiddos that have a sensitivity to smells. And then you want to make sure that you keep bath time consistent and predictable. So really consistency in bath time schedule is super important. So keeping that same time of day and consistency, whether it's every day or whether it's every other day. You can also use a visual to show what days are specific bath or shower days as well. And then for grooming, we can use a mirror to model grooming steps. So again, modeling as the caregiver, brushing your hair, or any other grooming steps in the mirror with your kiddo. We can break these tasks into small steps. So just focusing on maybe picking up the brush, maybe focusing on touching the brush to their hair, maybe focusing on just brushing a doll's hair first. You can use timers and songs to make it more motivating and fun. And then we can offer choices. So, whether it's a choice between a brush or a comb, or whether it's a choice of your kiddo brushing or you helping to brush, anything like that. And then again, focusing on those small steps for hair brushing is really important. So especially if your kiddo has sensitivity, allowing them to touch and kind of manipulate the brush or the comb or the clippers for hair cutting first. And then keeping some of these tools out in view in your home to kind of build up their comfort with this item in their presence. So next, talking about building and promoting independence for toileting. So for toileting, you can use a toilet schedule and visual step charts. We want to make sure that we're teaching toileting skills in a calm and distraction-free environment, and then reinforcing success with praise and special rewards as well. We really want to make sure that we support children, all of our kiddos in becoming independent with the bathroom routines through that use of structure, consistency, shaping, which we'll kind of touch on later, and then positive reinforcement as well. And then making sure that we focus on small wins for toileting. So small wins and gains when toilet training. And then for hand washing, we can use a visual for each step, which I'll show you an example of a visual in a little bit. We can model the behavior together. So we can model washing our hands, each step of washing our hands for our kiddo. We can even use physical prompts if that's needed, and then slowly fade them out as well. So just kind of focusing on those specific prompting strategies and then prompt fading, which we'll touch on later as well. So just an example, like I said, of a hand washing visual. So these visuals can be individualized and tailored to your kiddo and their specific needs. They can be just with picture icons, they can be just with words, or they can be like this visual and they can be with both as well. So, moving on to our last two in personal hygiene. So, promoting independence for teeth brushing. So, working on promoting that independence, you can use different flavored or non-foaming toothpaste for any kiddo that maybe has sensitive, different sensory needs. We can use vibrating toothbrush or a non-vibrating toothbrush, whatever they prefer. You can practice on a doll, or a caregiver can be modeling this in the mirror as well. Shaping that duration of teeth brushing. So this just means maybe we start at 5 to 10 seconds before we praise and reward for teeth brushing. Once they master that, then we can move that duration up. Maybe then after 5 to 10 seconds, we move to 15 seconds and then 30 and so on. You can also play a preferred song or video for that duration of teeth brushing as well. And then for nail care, so a few things here. You can let your kiddo hold and explore the clippers first. You can cut nails after bath time when nails are a little bit softer. You can also use a favorite activity as a reward afterward, or any type of reward or reinforcement afterward for clipping nails. And then we can focus on trimming one nail at a time over several days or over several hours, depending on your kiddo. So the next few skills we're going to talk about are dressing skills. So we'll talk about clothing, shoe tying, and then dressing for seasons as well. So a few reasons why dressing skills are so important. It really helps to build confidence with your kiddo. So when our kids learn to dress themselves, they feel, a sense of accomplishment and pride. It boosts their self-esteem, encourages them to take on, other tasks with confidence as well. It also promotes motor development. So dressing involves a lot of fine and gross motor actions and skills. So, like buttoning, zipping, pulling clothes over their head, and this helps to strengthen coordination and dexterity as well. This also encourages problem solving. So figuring out which shoe goes on the right foot or how to line up snaps on a jacket or a shirt. This helps your kiddo think critically and kind of troubleshoot. Again, kind of building those cognitive skills. Again, this fosters independence as well and then supports a daily routine mastery. So again, keeping those daily routines for your kiddos. So getting into building and promoting independence for these skills. So with dressing specifically in clothing, we can use visual clothing charts with weather symbols. You can let them choose between 2 to 3 options to build independence, so giving them choices. We can teach labels like this is front, this is the back, and then tag side in as well. We can practice putting clothes on dolls or stuffed animals first. And then again, you can use least to most prompting. For shoe tying, a few different ones here. We can use color-coded laces to kind of show the left and the right loops to help them distinguish those. You can teach one step at a time, so making an X with the loops first, and mastering that, and then building up each step. We can try different methods like the bunny ears technique as well. And then we can practice on a larger model as well. So using, a cardboard shoe or maybe a parent's shoe as well, something a little bit larger for them to work on. And then, of course, you can use that visual with steps listed, and you can even do look up videos as well for a video model. So, next is dressing for seasons. So, promoting independence within dressing for seasons, we can use a weather chart, with matching clothing visuals. So, a sun associated with a picture of shorts or a swimsuit, and then snow associated with a picture of a coat or mittens. Um, Next, we can also do pretend play, engage in pretend play with our kiddos um, and dress up dolls based off of activities by season. So maybe doing sledding and dressing up a doll for sledding, or maybe going to the beach. We can practice picking clothes out the night before and looking at the weather app or watching the weather on TV to kind of figure out what the weather is going to be and picking out clothes from that. And then you can also role play scenarios as well. So asking your kiddo, what would we wear if it's raining outside? What would we wear if it's going to be sunny and 80 degrees? and having them kind of navigate through those as well. And then a few key reasons why promoting independence for dressing for the correct season and weather is so important is it keeps our kiddos safe and comfortable. This helps develop decision-making skills, and then it also encourages self-awareness as well. So next, we'll talk about mealtime and feeding skills. So using utensils and doing the dishes, and a few reasons why teaching our kids independence during a mealtime is really, really key for their overall development. It builds fine motor skills, first off, so using utensils, pouring drinks, using an open lid cup, um, handling foods helps kind of strengthen that hand-eye coordination and motor control as well. It also encourages healthy eating habits. So when our kiddos serve themselves or help prepare food for a meal, they're more likely to try new things and develop a positive relationship with food. Teaching these independent skills in meal times also promotes and kind of fosters responsibility. So being part of mealtime routines, setting the table, assisting in cleaning up or doing the dishes, it teaches responsibility and then the value of contributing to shared tasks and teamwork. This also promotes social and communication skills. So mealtime is a great time for kiddos to practice turn taking, making requests, and engaging in conversation. So diving into promoting independence for feeding in mealtime. So with use of utensils, we can start with finger foods and then move our way up to introduce a spoon, which is the easiest, and then migrate to then a fork and then a knife down the line as well. You can use child-sized utensils as well as easy grip utensils too. We can engage in pretend play, so practicing during play, which could be a number of things using pretend play kitchen items, maybe pretending to feed dolls, using Play-Doh to make pretend food as well. We can model the action and use hand over hand support as well. So again, that physical prompt and support for our kiddos at first to use their utensils and hold the grips appropriately as well. And then we can praise small successes, like holding the utensil correctly. Even if our kiddos don't have the food make it to their mouths, but they're holding it correctly and they're attempting, making sure that we praise those small wins and successes. And then next, contributing to cleaning and doing the dishes. So we can start off by having our kids rinse and place dishes in the sink or dishwasher. So those small steps first. Using visual steps as well, with kind of listing out different steps throughout the dishwashing process and routine. You can use plastic or something that's an unbreakable dish to practice these skills as well. And then make this a routine after meals. So build that consistency with your kiddos. And then again, kind of like what I mentioned before, breaking these tasks into small parts is really, really important, one step at a time. So moving on to household tasks. So within this one, we'll kind of touch on building independence with making the bed, cleaning, assisting in laundry, routine and tasks, organizational tasks around the house, and then pet care as well. So again, teaching our kiddos independence within household tasks and chores is really valuable for the growth and development, and it builds life skills, fosters responsibility again, encourages teamwork as well, then teaches time and task management, which is really important. So starting off with promoting independence for making the bed. So we can use a step-by-step visual guide for this one as well. And we can use specific pictures. So pictures of an unmade bed, and then the first step of maybe fixing the sheet, straightening that sheet, pulling the blanket up, placing the pillow on. We can also start small by having them either start out the routine of making the bed with the first step or end the routine with the last step. So for example, maybe you complete the bed making routine and then you just have them complete putting the pillow in the right place at the end and praising them for that. Making this a daily routine as well after waking up. So again, consistency with all of these is really important. You can also turn this into a game for motivation and make it a race with a timer. And we can use positive reinforcement and behavior specific praise. So again, this could look like telling your kiddo, great job for pulling the covers up, or awesome job placing the pillow on the bed. So anything that is specific on their behavior. And then the next one, cleaning. So starting with one task at a time for this one. So focusing on wiping the table after dinner or focusing on putting toys away. Using a picture checklist for steps as well. Playing music during cleanup to make it fun. And then using color-coded bins for sorting. So blocks go in the red bin, maybe, our dolls go in the orange bin. And then praising effort over perfection as well. So next, promoting independence within the laundry routine. So we can do this in a few different ways. So starting with sorting clothes by color or type. You can do this with pictures and visuals, or you can do this with actual clothes. We can use a visual checklist as well. So sort, put in the washer, add soap, and press button. And then having them do an easier task like matching socks or folding towels first to build up that independence and confidence. And then organizational tasks and chores around the house. So using labeled bins or pictures on containers can be really helpful. Again, kind of that visual cue for kiddos. We can model sorting by category. So again, similar to cleaning up our toys, but books go here, toys go here. You can even do this with their clothes, with their shoes, maybe with their backpack after coming home from school as well. And then starting with 1 to 2 categories to kind of build up that confidence and independence as well. So focusing on a lesser amount and then building up from there. We can offer a visual of before and after examples and pictures as well. So this could be maybe a picture of their room that has toys around, clothes around, and maybe shoes out. So that's our before picture. And then the after picture showing that clothes are put away on their hangers or in their drawer, shoes are on the shelf, books and toys are in their right spot as well. We can use a timer as well to keep focus to kind of help with that time management for a task. And then reinforce with a reward after cleaning up. Again, we want to make sure that we're praising our kiddos and rewarding them as well when they complete these different tasks. So this last one in this category is pet care. So promoting independence for pet care. This can look like assigning one specific job for your kiddo, which could be filling up the food bowl, brushing your pet, or even checking and filling the water bowl. We can use a pet care schedule and board with icons as well, like a checklist. You can practice with supervision and praise, so helping them and prompting them through these tasks. You can role play and engage in that pretend play again with a stuffed animal and teach specific steps and different tasks in pet care as well. And then always making sure pair that task with something positive and using that first then language. So first, let's feed the dog and then we can play together. Again, gaining that motivation for them to do these tasks as well is important. So next we're going to touch on safety skills. So teaching our kiddos independence with safety skills is really essential for their well-being and confidence. And there's a few reasons why this is so important. So this really helps to keep them safe and prepare them for real world situations. Builds confidence and self-reliance, encourages their critical thinking skills, prepares them for greater independence, and then it also supports long-term safety habits and skills as well. So diving a little bit deeper into promoting that independence with safety skills. So we can look at things like stranger danger and using role play and clear rules for our kiddos with stranger danger. We can teach our kiddos emergency information and personal information. So teaching them their full name, their parents' names, their parents' phone numbers, even address, and how to dial 911 in an emergency situation. We can teach them traffic safety as well. So following those safety instructions like stop or look or come here, come back. Those are all really important um, safety instructions and traffic safety instructions too. We can also teach home safety, so teaching hot versus cold and sharp objects as well. And then social stories. So we can utilize social stories to model safe and unsafe choices. These are a great way um, to teach these skills and keep your kiddo motivated as well. And then a few additional safety skills to touch on, and just so we remember, internet safety skills, um, fire safety as well, so preparing our kiddos to respond, how to respond in a fire situation, water safety around any bathtub, pools, anything like that, and then school safety as well, general school safety. So next we're going to touch on social skills and building that independence within social skills. So we'll touch on asking for help, turn taking, understanding our own emotions, and then problem solving. And really why this is so important to build independence, it's crucial for our kiddos' personal growth and ability to build healthy relationships as well. Helps build confidence in social settings, encourages problem solving again, promotes self-advocacy and strengthens communication skills. This also fosters friendships and relationships, prepares our kiddos for situations in group settings in school, and then also helps to build empathy. So getting started with promoting independence and social skills, so asking for help. We can build this skill in a lot of different ways. So we can role play, acting out situations where our kiddos might need to request help from an adult. We can reinforce by praising our kiddos anytime that they ask for help appropriately or independently. You can use visual cues. A visual that says, when I'm stuck, I can say help. We can practice in everyday routines as well. So again, when you're doing these daily living skill routines like dressing, making sure that we prompt that communication for our kiddos to request for help when they need it. And then we can use sentence starters too, providing, some vocal and sentence starters for our kiddos. I need, and having them fill that in at the end. Help. Next, touching on sharing and turn taking. So to promote independence within this, we can use different visuals for my turn and your turn. You can practice with simple games that you know your kiddo knows how to play and they're motivated by. Narrating during play as well. So it's my turn now. Let's wait. Okay, it's your turn. Nice job waiting. Again, using songs and social stories to help explain fairness and fun and sharing and turn taking. And then again, reinforcing with praise. So like I just said, I love how you waited your turn. Or nice job taking your turn. Next, building that independence with understanding our own emotions. So, using emotion cards with faces and labels. This can be a really helpful tool, especially when in a specific situation that we want to label our own emotion. We can practice in the mirror or with characters. We can use books and videos and dolls. Again, you can use those sentence starters as well. I feel blank when blank happens. Explaining different scenarios and situations to our kiddos regarding emotions. Introducing emotion thermometers or charts to track that intensity. So relating green to feeling calm and at ease, and then relating red to feeling frustrated, upset, or mad, and discussing emotions in that way as well. And then talking about emotions and labeling emotions throughout your day. So it looks like you're smiling. Are you feeling happy right now? And then building off of that, I wonder why you're feeling so happy. Maybe it's because you're playing with your favorite toy or anything like that. So next, touching on problem solving here. So a three-step kind of process for problem solving and building that independence with problem solving. So stopping and pausing, talking about the problem with your kiddo, and then choosing a solution together. So involving your kiddo in that decision-making process with problem solving. We can role play common peer conflicts or just conflicts in general. Again, something like turn taking or both wanting the same toy, sharing. We can provide visual tools like a choice chart or problem solution cards to give them different options to choose from. And then reinforcing their calm behavior over winning an argument. So making sure that you praise them when they're um, showing that absence of any behaviors targeted that we want to reduce. And then we can use phrases, modeling different phrases like let's take turns, modeling that for our kiddos as well. So next, we're going to go ahead and talk about a few different teaching procedures that we can use for building independence and how we'll promote that independence through these different teaching procedures. So first, a teaching procedure that I mentioned a few times is shaping. So this is really small steps into big skills. And shaping is reinforcing successive approximations of a desired behavior. So again, this just means rewarding each step that gets closer to that full skill. So you can reinforce approximations and steps by providing, again, that behavior specific praise, maybe high fives, maybe hugs, or any other social behavior or reward that your kiddo prefers. And then we can use shaping to teach new skills by reinforcing those small steps toward that final goal. So again, an example of this could be, again, teeth brushing. Maybe we need to shape teeth brushing. So we praise and reinforce our kiddo when they brush teeth for 5 seconds. And then once they've gotten the hang of that, then we withhold that praise and reinforcement until they reach 10 seconds. Once they've done that, then we keep going, maybe do 15 and then 30. A few tips with shaping. So again, starting with a step that maybe your kiddo can already do. So maybe you know your kiddo can brush their teeth for at least 5 seconds. So let's just start there and praise our kiddo and reinforce and reward when they do teeth brushing for 5 seconds. We can reinforce immediately after each small success. Gradually raise that bar um, for whatever earns praise and rewards, kind of like what I mentioned earlier. So if they've done a great job with teeth brushing for 5 seconds, I'm going to withhold that praise and reinforcement until they reach 10 seconds next time. And then making sure that we're just patient. Progress takes time, but it ends up building confidence for our kiddo and in turn independence as well. Another example of shaping with teeth brushing. So we can also shape by praising and reinforcing our kiddo for just picking up their toothbrush. And then maybe we praise and reinforce our kiddo for brushing just their front teeth. And then we move to brushing all of our teeth. So again, praising and reinforcing each step of this entire routine by giving those high fives, saying good job, nice picking up your toothbrush, using elevated and excited statements and tones too. And then our next teaching procedure that I'm going to kind of touch on as well is fading. So this just means helping less over time. So pulling back on those prompts that we originally had in place. So gradually removing prompts or assistance that as your kiddo learns to do that task or their routine on their own. And there's a few different types of fading. So we can We can use prompt fading, which means moving from maybe a full physical prompt or a hand over hand prompt to gentle guidance to then a verbal cue and then moving to independence. We can also use visual fading, and I'll kind of touch on this in a little bit, but reducing picture cues as your kiddo memorizes and remembers steps to a specific routine. And then we can also use reinforcement fading, so slowly giving praise less often as the skill becomes more consistent over time. And then a few tips for fading. So fade slowly and systematically. We want to make sure that we don't jump from, providing hand over hand physical prompts to full independence right away. Monitoring this fading so it doesn't lead to frustration. And then again, celebrating independence at each stage. When your kiddo masters one step of a routine, celebrating that and getting really excited with them. So, fading a visual, I'm going to go ahead and give a couple of examples of how we can do this. So, a couple different procedures that we can use with prompt fading with a visual. We can do a process called forward chaining, which is ultimately fading the prompt. So, our kiddo learns to turn on the faucet independently. So, step one, independently without the visual cue. And then we immediately, after our kiddo turns on the water, we immediately provide the visual cue for the rest of the steps 2 through 7. And then once our kiddo, masters step one of turning on the water independently without the visual, then we're going to pull away the visuals for steps 1 and 2 and then only present it for 3 through 7. And then so on until we build independence with the entire routine. And then another way we can do this is backward. So presenting the visual for all of the steps 1 through 6, taking it away and removing that visual for step 7. Building independence with step 7 of drying your hands. And once they've mastered that, then we present the visual for steps 1 through 5 and we remove it for steps 6 and 7 to build independence there at the end. And again, just continuing to move it until we build full independence with that entire routine. Another example of fading our prompts could be with shoe tying. So maybe first we use physical prompts and use hand over hand to help our kiddos learn tying their shoes. Then we fade that and just use a verbal cue or verbal reminder. And then finally at the end, we build up to independent tying of shoes. So next, I want to make sure that we tie in communication to all of this because communication is so important for our kiddos and especially with building independence with our daily living routines and daily living skills. So touching on functional communication and advocating. So we want to make sure we encourage our kiddo whenever possible to use their voice, their body, their pictures, or any way that they communicate. So they can use their voice, they can use pointing or sign language. They may use an AAC device or a PEX board. And then we want to make sure that we're prompting and reinforcing anytime that they might request your attention or specifically with daily living skills, requesting your help as well. We want to make sure we also encourage and model asking for help with daily living skills again, because this will just help encourage them to request for help independently in the future when they need it. So we're going to kind of touch on a wrap up and some next steps. So just kind of reviewing everything we went over today. So what we covered, we discussed daily living skills across a variety of domains, social emotional skills as well, safety skills, and then those evidence-based teaching strategies, so shaping and fading as well. And then a few key takeaways here. So, remembering with a lot of these daily living skills, when we're promoting independence, we can break these tasks into small, manageable steps for our kiddos. We can use visuals, we can model, um, and build routines and consistency to support learning. Celebrating that progress over perfection. Again, little wins and little progress over these big goals that we want to build with daily living skills. Build skills one day at a time. So again, just remembering consistency is really important. It is key. If we focus on a bathing routine and we are not consistent, and maybe we do it on a Monday and then again on a Friday, that's not really building that consistency with our kiddo. We want to make sure that we're shaping that into an independent task that they can do on their own, and consistency is the way to go for that. And then again, we can adjust our teaching to meet your kiddo's unique needs and strengths. Maybe a specific teaching strategy just isn't working with your kiddo, and that's okay. That's why you can consult your BCBA or other professionals to kind of help you kind of navigate that and what to try next. So, some next steps to kind of implement some of these at home. So, choosing 1 to 2 skills to focus on at first. So, not choosing all of these different daily living skills and routines all at once, but maybe just focusing on a couple at once to work on with your kiddo. Um, Creating a simple routine or visual schedule. Again, building that consistency, making a routine out of it. And then using those different strategies like shaping or fading to build and support independence with these routines. And then again, making sure that we keep it positive and be patient. Our kiddos are um, can do this, and they're I'm losing my train of thought, but they can do this, and we can build that independence with our kiddos. So, lastly, and I kind of touched on this and mentioned this, but consulting with your BCBA. So, this webinar is meant to provide you with a deeper understanding of building and promoting independence with your kiddos' daily living skills. These are examples and suggestions, and they are not individualized for each kiddo. So, again, consult with your BCBA. We can provide you with individualized support and care and teaching procedures for specific daily living skills at home to promote. All right, so I want to go ahead and open the floor to any questions here. So we have a question in the Q&A. So how do I teach my kid to be independent in bathing? My son has mastered the first several steps, but doesn't go out from the shower until he heard the prompt of a timer going off. He can do each step, but too prompt dependent. So how do we work on that prompt fading, and should I change to chaining? So that's a really great question. So there's a lot of ways that we can kind of promote independence with bathing skills. It sounds like you have a pretty good routine with your kiddo, kind of completing those first several steps, but just waiting until that shower timer kind of goes off. And again, a timer is really, really appropriate with kiddos. To use a timer right now with these skills. It's really appropriate, and it's really important to do because it's a nice cue for your kiddo to be independent with you without you having to give that verbal, reminder or cue. Whether you should switch to a different procedure or chaining process, that is definitely a great question to kind of ask your BCBA. Again, it's really different for each kiddo. If your kiddo maybe struggles with kind of off task, maybe going a little bit off task when they're in the bathing routine, that's something to definitely talk about with your provider, with your BCBA. You can use visuals instead of a timer if you want to try that as well. And then again, with prompt fading. So just focusing on those small things first, waiting until your kiddo masters one step of this bathing routine, and then fading from there, and then waiting until they master that next step consistently, and then fading from there. So again, it does take patience and kind of um, a little bit to fade these, especially because daily living routines have so many steps. within them. Hopefully that was helpful. What at home? What at home routine, but at school? So I'm going to see if I'm answering your question correctly. Please respond back if I'm not answering correctly. So I'm guessing that you're asking if we're using specific strategies in the center or at school that's different than in home. So again, this is a really great opportunity to talk with, okay, yes, great. Talk with your BCBA. We want to make sure that this is consistent over multiple different settings. So generalizing that skill across various settings is really important. So we want to make sure that you are feeling confident in what we're doing in the center with a specific routine. So again, for example, toileting, maybe we're working on toilet training. We want to make sure that you are trained by your BCBA first on that protocol and maybe on those specific steps of toilet training. And again, thinking of reinforcement and rewards. We want to make sure that that is generalized from the center and from school to at home. And again, that means being consistent and doing the same exact things. And your BCBA will be able to hopefully teach you and provide that training so you are doing the same thing at home. I hope that answers your question. Any other questions?
Audrey, this was so beneficial. You provided so many great tips and tricks and resources and so many great tidbits. So thank you so much for your time this evening.
Of
We do
course.
still have a few minutes left, so if anyone else has questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A. Those ones that were provided were great questions and great conversation topics.
Absolutely. I'll stay on for a couple minutes in case anybody has any other questions, but I really appreciate everybody joining.
Awesome. Looks like you covered everything. There's no more questions to be answered.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody so much. This was so wonderful. I hope you can kind of implement some of these strategies and different daily living routines into your home.